My greatest desire in life is that my children would walk in the ways of the Lord. Odyssey has been an incredible help there. There are so many things in this world that can turn my kids away from the Lord. This is a wonderful tool, and one they love, that works constantly to turn their hearts back to Him. And I appreciate it so much.
Odyssey teaches these biblical values in a way that feels like parables. Like often I'm listening to it, I'm like, what's the story here? I know Chris will sum it all up at the end with a proverb or something, but often it's like, oh, this is like that parable, or it's modeling this virtue and Christian thinking and living and stuff like that. So it's so like subtle but beautiful, because it's lifting it up and raising it as like, here's a good way to live, without like hammering you on the head with this is the way and that's dumb or whatever. That's what I would say.
So many resources that are out there. We feel like we have to screen first, and we have to be so careful and just watchful of the language, the content. And with Odyssey, we've been able to trust. And we all listen to, when a new Odyssey comes out, we all listen to it together, for the first time. And it's been a real blessing. To me, it's rare that you find something that is entertaining and engaging, funny, and also morally sound. So we were thankful. We've been very thankful.
I would say that Odyssey is even more than safe, because it's not just safe in the sense that they're not going to stumble across anything bad, but it's going to be uplifting and encouraging to them, and it's going to teach them biblical truth. So it's not just something that I can feel okay with them listening to. It's something that I want them to listen to as much as possible.
In a world that has so much throwaway entertainment, where values of family values are being undermined left and right, I would say it's the kind of media that you can put in front of your kids. Trust that it's going to be reinforcing biblical worldview, and also it's the kind of media that's just fun, that the whole family can really engage in. Right, like we sit down and listen to it with our kids, and we enjoy it right alongside them. And so it's not the kind of, parental moment where you're rolling your eyes and like, oh no, we've got to do another one of these, right? So it just becomes something the whole family can enjoy.
From Adventures in Odyssey, I've learned how important it is. It's reinforced my belief that it's important to discuss these challenging topics with our children, with Elijah. So, we live in a fallen, broken world, and you cannot keep your children sheltered from everything. And Adventures in Odyssey has been a great way to introduce and begin the discussions on some of these challenging, potentially controversial topics that are probably often avoided discussions in many homes. So that's probably the greatest lesson. And obviously Adventures in Odyssey approaches these challenging topics through a biblical Christian worldview. And so that's very important to us. And that's the approach that we take. But it's got us thinking about and talking about some challenging topics that otherwise may not have come to light in our minds to discuss. And it just kind of opens up the avenues for discussion.
I think Odyssey gives us a starting point. The stories in it give us a starting point where we can talk to our kids and say, hey, do you remember this Odyssey? Or do you remember what happens? Or what did you think about that? Or what about the scripture that they were talking about? Or what did you learn? And so it helps us to convey those biblical truths. It just gives us a starting point. So Odyssey helps nail that starting point down. It's a stepping stool of sorts.
So Adventures in Odyssey, I think, does a great job of teaching the biblical values to kids by basically just coming up with fun stories that they themselves might experience every single day. So for them, they're getting into it, and it's just, oh, this is fun to listen to. I'm building a tree house, or I'm going down to the place to play, or we're outside playing a game of football. And then something happens that may happen in their everyday life, but somehow Focus on the Family does a great job of turning that everyday situation into something that teaches them a biblical value, and that references those scriptures. And when especially a situation arises that's causes them to have to make a decision between like right and wrong, it automatically starts by going back to the Bible and looking at what it's supposed to do there. What are they supposed to do there first? Not just making a decision on the fly. They say, hey, look, Here's a biblical verse you can look at.
Odyssey was a very important part of my childhood. We did lots of road trips because we didn't live anywhere near family. And so that was a big piece of that. I had my tape that I got at McDonald's in a Happy Meal, an Odyssey tape, and I would put it on every night and listen, and that would help me fall asleep. And it was important for me. And I remember trying to introduce it to the kids maybe a little bit too early, and they just didn't quite get it. And I thought, shoot, okay, it's just me, and that's okay. And then it just took off, and the boys just love it. And I love hearing them talk about Kidsborough and like these things. Some of them are pieces of my childhood that they've discovered on their own. So cool.
So in January of this year, Aubrey was diagnosed with a giant astrocytoma tumor, dead center of her brain. And walking through all of that, and the mercies of God, that it was benign, and they were able to surgically remove 100% of it. On the other side of that, I can remember being in the vehicle one day, and I don't remember what episode we were listening to, but Aubrey was in the back seat, and she said, "Dad, stop Adventures in Odyssey." And when I did, I do remember there was a character in the show talking about him having his own faith, going through a trial of life and developing his own faith in God, his own testimony out of that. And when she asked me to stop the episode, she said, "That's what I have now, Dad. It's no longer just a testimony of God's goodness and his mercy and his faithfulness, listening to you and Mom talk about it and know that it's real for you, but it's real for me, and it's personal, and it's intimate for me now." So I'm very thankful for that. And Adventures in Odyssey, I think, was a means by which she was able to come to grips with that conclusion on her own, that I have my own testimony now.
I would definitely recommend Adventures in Odyssey to other parents. The stories are so captivating. We picked this up off Amazon. We're new to Adventures in Odyssey. Wanted to get something that was wholesome with a biblical worldview that Elijah might be interested in. And he took to it almost immediately. And it really opens up potential discussion topics for us, that everything's based through a Christian biblical worldview. And I think if parents care about their child's relationship with the Lord, this is a great tool to help facilitate what you're already doing at home. So I would definitely recommend it.